Be here, Beth will not be here.
Jason is supposed to come.
Yeah, Jason said he was coming.
Okay. Well, according to that clock, they're not even late starting yet. That clock's never right. Oh, yeah.
So we've got 1 minute. Why is the lake being redrained?
Why is the lake being drained?
I don't know the answer to that question. I wonder if it has something to do with planning, but I don't know.
Oh, that makes sense.
I
Sure.
actually should double check it. I saw it when I was on my way in this morning. I was like,
Are we the first ones to ask?
Yeah. I know that it's actually we're gonna do some more planting in June for sure. It was gonna require us to lower it, but I don't know if this has something else to do with that or not, but I should find out.
Jean, did George contact you by any chance? Did he text you or call? He said that he was gonna get with Josh to see if there was a possibility to open a mic on his end in case he had any input. He understood that he would not count as being here, but
I'm not aware of any such contact. It doesn't mean it didn't happen, but
do you have your
I
phone?
never saw it. Let me check. I know we'll be late starting, but check and see who is gonna be doing that. It looks like I have arrived without a pencil.
I've got.
Nope, got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and you got my very exponential communications and numbers and so forth.
I put it in minutes. That went back out.
Okay.
Did you see him? I think I got him.
I'd like him right here.
Hey, how are you doing? Alrighty.
Hi.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
won't have a quorum today, but we've got, Arrington's supposed to be coming for a bear report, and Bill Seaman is here to give a proposal.
Right.
So, still do the meeting, just not official.
No votes.
No votes.
Yeah.
We can say whatever we want.
There you go. But there'll still be minutes.
Hey, man. All right. Doing well. How are y'all? Good. Ah, so nice to meet you. Tell me your name.
Hi there.
I'm Shannon. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, man. How are you? Doing all right. No complaints. Does not good. Does not.
I know they've got this.
All right. I'll let him.
Very cool. The vacuum truck is coming today to clean out the little sediment catcher right by the pedestrian bridge.
Oh,
You know, where the rock ring
you're right.
was kind of in front, that is to catch the sediment as it comes through. That first big storm we had just almost filled it up.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so they're coming out today to suck
What,
that
do you know what time? I'd love to be there and watch that.
No, sometime today. We just heard actually yesterday, or today that was happening, so.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But that was put in place so that we don't have to go through all this dredging again next time. The plan is to be able to do this as it fills up, bring the vacuum out, suck it out.
I need one of those vacuums at home. I talked with Angie, and she is recording and watching it. I do not believe there'll be, anyone will be able to call in, but we are being recorded this morning. And I want to call this meeting to order. And now we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. We,
We have 4 voting members attending, so we do not have a quorum for the meeting, or at least for official business for the meeting.
so when we do not have a quorum, can we go on with the discussion but cannot vote? Is that so?
That is my understanding. So we could have a discussion, no votes could be taken. We cannot adopt or approve March's minutes, so that will come back before the May meeting, along with the April minutes. And
We have a message from George. He says he's listening.
okay, great.
The treasurer's report.
Very little has changed financially. I can read you current numbers as of the end of February. We're always a month behind on our financial report because we meet so early in the month that that report hasn't been generated by the town for the previous month. But I don't think anything happened in the previous month anyway. So our current total balance, am I recording? Let's say I am. Our current total balance, which includes $34,065 of Pigeon River Fund, is $123,031.80. And in another fund, which includes the town's contribution to the committee, we have remaining $3,047. Most of that money, almost all of it, is Flat Creek Crossing donations. We had go out only $13.99 for our web hosting bill. We had nothing in particular come in as of February. So anything that happened really during the time between Helene and now was captured in the previous report and will be to some extent in the next one. About $6,600 of that total belongs to the committee to spend as we need, and we are attempting to accumulate the funds for the necessary rebuild of parts of the website. That is, and it's not happening yet. I think that's it for the financial report.
Okay. At this point, there's time for public comment in the agenda. And Arrington? Oh. Do you want to come up and comment? Oh, you do have a report, a time for a report. Okay, thank you. On the reports, it looks like I'm first up on the town of Montreat. Our staff is working overtime, just trying to figure out which ways to go and to get contracts signed. And so that it's in progress, it's taking its time, which it should. We don't want to rush into things that we don't need to be into. But we're just moving on. Is there anyone here? Oh, MRA, do you have a report? No?
Sure, we've got a few things. One is that we have a good number of the trails open, and that's, I'm sure you've seen that. Basically, if you take the trail map and fold it in half, everything on the southern half of the map is open. We are working on getting other things done. We've had groups out and volunteer days, and my hope is to get Graybeard Summit open by detour in the next couple of weeks. So you won't be able to go up from the end of the road at the parking lot because that's where the trail follows the creek and has the most damage, and there's bridge damage and things like that. So that's kind of where we are with that. We also have had an engineer out just over 3 weeks ago now to look at the bridges that were damaged by Helene. We're still waiting on a report from that firm to determine what the next steps need to be to bring all the bridges back up into a safe, usable thing. The other thing is, we, at some point, Tanner is here to maybe speak more to details if you have questions. At some point this year, I'm not entirely sure on which date, we are going to institute a parking, a pay-to-park system for at least, the popular, like Lookout and Graybeard to start with. And there's a software involved that will help track that sort of thing. And so people will be able to scan a code at the parking spot and pay to park. Or you can still park in Anderson parking lot and walk up the hill, and that's totally free. But hopefully that will help keep, that'll do two things. It'll help hopefully address some of the parking issues that have been occurring over the last several years, and also generate some wilderness-specific revenue to help with maintenance and upkeep and things like that.
Thank you, Josh. Mark?
Yep, I don't really have anything to add. I think y'all all seen the lake, make progress on that. There's still a little bit more to do. Sure. There's still a little bit more to do before the lake is completely ready. Some docks to add and some plantings along the wetland shelf, but other than that, we're pretty much done with that and with the area that was damaged around both the left bank and the craft center. So.
Cottagers at Wildness and Open Space, I talked with Beth, and she said she really had nothing to report. And Earth Ministry team, Montreat Presbyterian Church, do we have no representative?
That's George, and no, he did not have a report.
Okay. And now we have, let's see.
Arrington Bear Watch.
Okay, and then, okay. Arrington, Bearwise.
I don't have a, you know what? I'll just run me bring this there today. And I won't this morning. Thank you, Kat. Sure. Here, get this.
On.
Yes.
Oh, good, I'm on. And I want to be on this morning. And I'm very sorry that we do not have a quorum. I don't know whether we're being Zoomed or not.
We are.
We are? Good. Because I have a very upsetting, devastating, important Bearwise report for you all. The last week of March, we had 2 bears break into people's homes looking for food. Of course, wildlife was called in one instance. In the second instance, Montreat police were called. Now, I didn't realize what euthanized meant. What does that word mean to you all? What does euthanize mean to you? How? Well, that's one answer. My thought, being an equestrian and having animals, is a little needle that goes night-night. These bears were shot, just like Jason said. They were shot. So, through no fault of their own, we lost the lives of 2 of our valuable bears. This has got to stop. This bear feeding has absolutely got to stop. It's got to stop right now. I dread the thought of April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We can't have this, y'all. We can't have North Carolina Wildlife coming up here and shooting our bears because of something we didn't do. We can't have the Montreat police up here. One shot didn't do it. So they went out and got their long guns and finished it off. We can't have this. This bird feeding, this animal feeding. Oh, I forgot one important part. First autopsy on the first bear showed an apple. Now, what's that say to y'all? That bear wasn't shopping at Ingles, was he? No. People are feeding the bears. The apple was not digested, therefore, the apple came from Montreat. Now, I'm so frustrated by this. I feel so helpless by this. I don't know what else I can do as Bearwise. I have posted at the post office regularly. I've sent regularly Bearwise information to Graybeard for to be posted in their rental homes. This time I'm going to ask that they nail it to the wall, because renters come in and they say, oh, this is nice, they tear it down and leave. The next renters come in and there's no information at all. I don't know what else to do. I'm coming to Landcare hoping that you all can come up with another solution, because I'm not getting it. I'm not getting the word out. People aren't listening to me. They're not listening to the bear watchers. Had one bear watcher this week say, when I've been calling them, every one of them, said, please update your contact list because there's a gap somewhere. Somebody isn't getting the message. Had one bear watcher say, well, you know, my contacts say they're tired of getting all this Bearwise information, so please take me off your list. Well, I have their names. They're going to get on the list. We're not having this. Please come up with something else that I can do, or that Bearwise can do, or that our bear watchers can do to get this across to Montreat. I'm tired of it. You should be tired of it. You want me to yell some more, or can I? Am I done with my 3 minutes?
We don't have time limit.
I'm done. Thank you. Here's your mic back, Kat.
Thank you, Arrington. I know we're all concerned about our people and our bears and our community, and I know that I do not have all the answers, but one thing I sort of would caution is to be careful and sensitive of your neighbors, not necessarily calling people out by names or addresses. I think it's the Bearwise. I think it's the Bearwise community, your community, that can help talk to neighbor and tell them some of the concerns or their feelings about not feeding the bears, which it should not be done. I have, about 6 months ago, I still kept some bird feed in my house, was not using it, but and I was proud that I didn't, but I had to get it out. So I no longer have bird feeders or bird seed. So. Yes, but other people, when they realize, when you talk to them as a neighbor to neighbor, I think that's how we're going to help with this.
But we need it for that.
Recorded.
It sort of strikes me that if the Montreat stewards can put up signs that say, stop the hotel, we can put up signs that say, stop feeding the bears. But this is not for this group. That's my fault.
Bill, yes.
Actually, My knees wobble anymore, so I'm just going to lean against the window frame. I'll just make a couple of comments from somebody who was in the information chain. The bear on Appalachian Way was shot about 3 houses down from us. We didn't hear gunshot or gunshots, but a couple of other neighbors did. But I want to comment on the trail of information that has flowed out of that event, because it's not all correct. And that's part of the problem. Where do I even start? You probably are and I think Jane Alexander may have been in part of this information that involved maybe 8 households. And it started with one person who sent a message to 8 other households. Then somebody else weighed in with a reply all and a reply all, and all of a sudden you had 6 different households sort of weighing in. And the story was never quite complete, and of course you had a lot of opinion. So I got a little frustrated with this, so I started composing a letter to just the people to clarify some things. And my wife said, well, just get in touch with Mayor Tim. So I sent Tim a message, and he responded, and then he gracefully called me yesterday to see if I'd gotten the message, and he shared a couple of things, particularly that he didn't have all the information that he'd like, because the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, I got the impression, was involved in both shootings of bears at the 2 different households. He also told me that in our neighborhood, Miss Chastain, who some of you may know, was not at home. And then he also talked about the apples and the birdseed in the stomach. But beyond that, he didn't feel comfortable or didn't have the information. So where I'm going with all of this is, could not the town have an open public meeting where questions could be answered, and have a wildlife commission person here as well as people from our town? Or could we not have some kind of a definitive report on the sunshine list that comes out and says, here are the facts? Because right now, in this chain of messaging, we sort of had people pointing fingers, and the homeowner was taken to task. She wasn't even home. And so, and I've chatted with her a few times, but not well enough to just go and see, how are you doing? And that's part of my question as neighbors. Has anyone reached out to her? She may be traumatized, amazingly so. So I'm sort of wandering with this, but getting our story straight, I think, is really important. And I'm thinking of all those seasonal homeowners who don't have a clue what's happened.
Bill, I really appreciate you coming up and saying that, because you so eloquently said what I would like to have said.
Yeah. On the second, I have been very careful, and I, of course, not to mention anything. Wildlife is a small wildlife. My tree's a small town. Neighbors know, just like you knew, Bill, you heard the gunshots. Or you didn't, but people up there. So, it was very easy to determine where these homes were broken into, and news travels. And it's like the old game that we used to play as kids. One person would start a sentence over here, and it would go down the line, and by the time it got to the end of the line, it was totally different from what it started out. I think that's what's kind of happened with this. We have had Bearwise community meetings. I think we had one last year, didn't we, Jean? Didn't we have a community Bearwise meeting where Ashley Hobbs came down and talked to everybody? She's willing to do that again. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with Ashley and Tim and Mason and Savannah to address some of these problems, and also to give the bear, what we've been doing with Bearwise over the past year and a half. So this is going to come up, and I will, I'll let you all know what happens with that. But it doesn't always travel correctly. And I'm sorry for that.
Do we know the age and sex of the bears that were shot?
No, stay up to let us know. But
They would know that.
they tell me that. But the second bear was a non-lactating female to us lay people. She didn't have us. Okay. She didn't have that. Any other question?
Not question.
Okay.
I think a community meeting is probably a good idea. We hope it would be well attended. Having definitive information that would be important. That's not going to reach renters. The fact that we had a community meeting. So it would report through the usual channels to try to get it into rental properties, posted in the post office. And I think we're still going to need written materials in addition to possibly meeting.
Actually, I think that the main thing with the story always is the rentals and the trash. Rentals leave on Sunday, trash in. I just waiting there because they know it's money always got. Also heard reports this week of people, the bank, the trash in, they don't like the bank. People need to listen to what's going on, respond, to stop the show. And we're the only ones that can.
There's one other thing that I could add that may be helpful. I think an awful lot of bear feed washed away in Helene. They were sitting on the ground. They're particularly hungry, and the birds are particularly hungry. Migrating birds came through and found nothing to eat. So all of those things are happening at once, and it adds to the danger for the bears.
It does. Remember though, this apple had not been digested.
I was talking with Jason earlier this week, and he mentioned the mountain. We've got the bear club. They can feed. Rules allow them to set up food for the bears, so that's not very far away. But brings them to you, people. But they are not doing what they need to do. Here's the problem with renters. This time of year, it's folks who are usually here. But I don't like the idea of just signs all over the place. That may okay then. There you go. I wonder if working with Creepier, if they might be willing to ask their renters post something in the home, and to your point, something that's just not thrown away after the first set of renters come in for the summer, that really stands out. That is posted, in the vision board. I don't know. It's maybe laminated magnets up on the refrigerator, so it's something that stays there. Like our bears, feed them too. Don't feed them if there's a bear. Just like I know we've got in our place there's regulations that it's laminate, it's magnet on back that just stays up on the refrigerator all summer. And that's this year, so that's good.
Native Place, Arbor Day celebration. I can speak to that. It's canceled this year. I think people are just taking the time to look at the mission.
So our latest development is a little bit embarrassing to have show up in its truth. We've been told that I was the last holder of the name of a person who had thought that she made it up. I have absolutely no recollection of ever having that name, and I have not found it in my notes, but I have made it all the way to the bottom of the file. So it's conceivable, but I think it's unlikely. So we need to start over with what we're going to do and assume that it's us.
And Erin, I didn't know what to ask you. I didn't know if Betty had perhaps handed in to you a person who just came with about possibly.
She did that. She left it. I can't remember who it was. It was Angela's house. And this lady does not live in town. I think she lives in Charleston. I don't repeat because I'm not sure she's living. And so that was one doubt that they had that she would be willing to take it over. So I don't know if that's with George. But I do know the decision was the decision to not have an event sale this year. Second record.
Thanks. I'll get with Bill about
George.
Thank you, George. Thinking of Bill. I'll get with George to touch on that name. But if we don't have that this week, I know that we're a year out planning the native plant sale, but a year is going to be here before we know it. So I think that we need to move quickly. By our next meeting, have some idea of who we willing to, or have talked with people who are willing to step up and share, or put together a committee. Because we have talked about kind of reimagining perhaps the native plant sale, that it's native plants, but also many of the other things that we want to make sure that folks are informed about and engaged in the our wilderness here. So I'm just feeling a little agita about it's going to go before we know it.
Okay, are we told we can go to new business?
Yes, I don't believe we have. I didn't see any reports from any of the other teams.
Under new business, I'd like to invite Bill Seaman.
I've got a handout. I'll just start with Gene and I got maybe 1 to 2 copies. I'll just stand here.
Bill, if you'd like, you can sit there.
Give me like 10 minutes for this, and then I look at it as a good way to keep my mind on my dental appointments in a few hours ground cavity. So this is good. Glad to be here. I've handed out a note sheet, and I'll refer to it and walk through it. But I should mention this has all started 5 years ago when we had the Monterey Lake Stream team that did an analysis of water quality chemistry in Flat Creek, for such study of its kind ever, and it's pretty rare thing for local communities in mountains to do any kind of study of water quality. So what I'd like to present you this morning is a suggestion that Landcare fund modestly, Gene, a follow-up water quality study in Flat Creek. And I can preface all this by saying that a small group of scientists organizing themselves around the entire Flat Creek watershed, and we convened to share information later this spring. And I've got a dozen people on board, including our Mountain Town manager, their stormwater technician. We're hearing from scientists who have been studying in Flat Creek, the trout and hellbender populations, and also a faculty member from the University of North Carolina, Nashville, brings his stream ecology class here. And I met with them back in September, pre-Helene, 20 eager young somethings splashing around in the creek, taking data on fishes and so on and so forth. And remarkably, you think of Flat Creek as sort of a important stream, but they found 20 different species of fishes down at the Memorial Garden collecting site. So that's some background. So what we're here this morning is that last week I sent an information packet to George, just requesting that I can make a presentation, and I believe that packet's been emailed to everybody now in terms of the cover note I sent to George, and then 3 attachments, one of which is a paper that a colleague of mine delivered last year. I identified all the ways that we pay attention to Flat Creek in terms of the trail we have for youth, and Aubrey Eco Foresight, that's Creekside, the water quality study that I mentioned, we have a stormwater management plan, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the table, the box on the number one issue that concerned my street citizens 5 years ago was stormwater flooding in Flat Creek. A remarkable store as opposed to development land, housing, and so on and so forth. So the term I would leave with is one of ecosystem services. Flat Creek is a lot for us in terms of somewhat cooling, summer climbing, providing recreation, angling, or by the way, to those who know what the sweet spots are, and so on and so forth. At the same time, we contribute clean water to Black Mountain and the Swan River. So Flat Creek is important to a lot of people, and hopefully Landcare can seize on that and build programs around it. I mentioned the 2020 Stream Team analysis, and we get some extramural funds from a scientific site to fund the Environmental Quality Institute right here to go by the name of EQI, and that were a spinoff from the University of North Carolina Asheville. Budget downsizing, can't keep them anymore, but they've made a success story for the last 20 years, and they're located in the West Side Industrial Park, and really a group to work with. And again, you can see the attachment, but President, my colleagues today, we also look at Flat Creek is and can be a model for science and community engagement in terms of how we steward and care for the watershed and the adjacent lands. One calls it the shining star when you think of the literally thousands of mountain lakes in the area and the kind of attentions, including the lake dredging that we see. So what the proposal is to conduct a one-year monitoring study of taking samples at 5 different locations, which is second Flat Creek, and also making the same pose to Black Mountain, so I've got it right now. And what you do is have a collection made, or sample taken, tell the laboratory, and then get a baseline study. What's the condition, sort of the health of the habitat, the water. At the same time, it gives us an opportunity to do sort of post-lean study. What's changed, if anything? And so I have listed a number of bullets here that I'll walk through. But basically, the charge is $528 for analyses, and the hope is that if Landcare has money that otherwise go back to the sources, we put some good strong public. And at the same time, we're asking the Black Mountain folks to get in a so that we can look at downstreams. It's a marvelous comprehensive study for us. And if we do the post quickly enough, much of the time, we think limited, maybe putting temperature lighting sensors into the creek is something to have a better, more comprehensive picture of the work. We have baseline information concerning what the new Flat Creek goes to lean in terms of being able to report attributes, chemical factors of water. With sort of a monitoring tool to gauge what's the effect of removing debris from the creek and other eco-engineering works. Education is a big factor. It's concerning. We have the trail program, we have the program already, and we know teachers and groups like kids here. So an opportunity to possibly engage formal audiences. I've got building citizen engagement with the creek, and at another time where I can send information. But the state has what's called a Stream Watch program. And there are communities across the state, citizens, you have neighborhood watch or crime watch, but also Stream Watch. And so it's I guess it's the point of quality and all that provides workbooks and training manuals to help citizens get out and monitor the creek. And there's a formal way to engage the community. I think Gene can speak to the utility of the data as a backstopping for a funding proposal for the All Access Trail program. And I guess maybe last but not least, the fact that partnership between Black Mountain in terms of citizens with the local creek, very different. This is a creek from Radiation up in Greater, the very high density housing on Black Mountain. And then we have a stormwater management plan. And I spoke with Black Mountain, very interested in how science of water quality data to help her assess the impact of her restoration. I'll close just to mention that Black Mountain has a $5 million fund for restoration of Flat Creek and Stormwater River, and they're getting ready to start restoring a Flat Creek proper, which is astounding. So in some ways, we might be able to benefit from their experience. So that's the proposal.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Bill?
So when would you need a funding, and I'm sorry, I missed it, when would the monitoring the study begin?
It could begin at any time. In other words, we would have a 12-month period, which is typically what's done. Folks go down on a Saturday, and they collect and deliver the water quality bottles to the Water Quality Institute laboratory. So we could start, this month, we could start in the summer. One of the things that would be great, and there's a pressure, especially from the funds, when we have our science meeting, it would be great to be able to say, but the town of Montreat, much Landcare is committed to a great study. It's not launching item, but I hope have a decision about that as well. So the lady who directs the Quality Institute is Anne Marie Traylor. She's been there for some time. She was in respect with her family, and she hasn't finished on trees, especially in the biggest study. So she's excellent, before we could start. I keep getting guesses here, but the EQI is actually working with literally dozens of streams across West North Carolina. So there's a nice database comparison to.
I'm sorry, is the date of the scientific meeting?
The second week in May.
So after
May.
I can't speak for the whole committee because I'm treasurer, not the whole group. But I think we can come up with $5 million because we are not spending anything on the plant sale, and typically do have money. It's an extremely rare we could say anything that's actually intended to make money. And maybe hopefully we'll have more. When we were writing the proposals for Flat Creek Crossing, I tried contacting EQI to find out what it cost I might put in for proposals for the crossing. One of those proposals too, of water quality and species mitigation, and that actually was all proposal. So I'm very happy about this one, and we need to show we are coordinating with Josh because Josh will be involved in basically analyses of what happened to various species, particularly others following. And that's data that we also would want to be able to include future funding proposals and updates for us. We hope we'll receive.
That's one of the things about we have all of these wonderful assessments of damage or road bridges. We need to talk about environmental assessment or streams assessment. That's part of our science we're trying to do. And so we're getting these water quality data. We call it a building block.
George wants to know what's the day of the Black Mountain meeting?
But it is supposed to be.
No, I think he's talking about participation in this science.
I think perhaps referring to earlier in your discussion, Bill, I think you had mentioned that Black Mountain is also for funding for sports monitoring.
Yeah, I don't know the workings.
I would be supportive of this. I know they don't have a quorum with input today. I think that's a nominal amount for a year's monitoring. It's also something that could be very useful in community outreach, getting people involved and thinking about the health of the quality. So probably what the need to do our communications around is to make sure people are in May. This issue is going to be we need to talk with, and but I would imagine that this will be on the agenda.
And of course, I welcome it. I think giving some notes about how this can be done. It's got to be a citizen-driven aspect. And so, anytime I always have to speak about the example, etc. And so, It's really like on our spirit back in 2020. You know, some of the players, John Hinkle and Mark Campbell and Jeff Austin, folks may not know, he and his father Oliver right there, and Jeff was probably in the breweries and French Quarter. So maybe half a dozen people who turns going out and saying other things. So that's going to be needed as we think about, as we say now, and communities, how that might work, and also what you want to inform pretty much over some background. We had a training session with volunteers, what is a carbon manager, saying something, so we got blah, blah, and that worked really well. We got analysis, we actually helped teams use report hundreds a year.
So that will be going to everyone who wants this.
I think there's a lot of volunteers and certificates. Yeah, so that'd be something Landcare would have to. So.
Thank you, Bill, and your passion, encouraging us. If there's, anyway, for going today, and we adjourn.
Thanks.